we were in my bedroom listening to that music on my
Uh-huh.
Rolla, and I said, "Boy, it'd be great to have a band like this," And I never, it was just thought in passing. I didn't really think much of it after that. But then I went to San Jose State School of Music, and I was roommates with a fellow who had started his own big band, usual type.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, where'd you get the arrangements?" He says, "At the San Jose Public Library." I said,
Oh,
"Really? Do they?"
really?
Yes. I don't, now I can tell this
Yeah.
story. A lot of people know this. A lot of people know this. I mean, I said, "Do they have any early arrangements there?" He says, "I said, most of them are early," he said. So I went right down there
Yeah.
and I saw them and I thought, "Oh my God." And I thought I could start a 20s band because I have access to these arrangements. Now at the
Yeah.
time, they were they were just out on the shelves and you could, easily get them. Now they're in the basement or something and it takes,
Yeah.
I don't know how difficult it is, but that's the easy part, getting the arrangements. But I was fortunate enough to be in my senior year at San Jose State, and I knew lots of musicians. And I said, "Look, I want to start this 20s orchestra." I said, "Would you be interested in playing?" And I picked on more classical players, not on jazz players, because I knew they were not coming from the right direction.
Right.
And so, yeah, that was basically it. And we got together. I had lots of chutzpah then, and we just went the band room in the at night for our first rehearsal. Our first song we played was the Wobbly Walk, and it was so exciting to everybody. It was just really, we were we
Yeah.
were because they hadn't heard anything like that before. And then the next rehearsal, so they chased us out of that room. So the next rehearsal we had in another room, and then the head of the department came in while we were rehearsing and he was, basically chasing us out of the place. We didn't, I guess, I don't know how you get to rehearse, but
Yeah.
anyway. So that's basically how we got going. And then we rehearsed twice a week for a long time. And that was the hard part, was finding places to rehearse.
Yeah.
We started in a pizza parlor and it closed. And then we went to the Elks Club and they didn't like us there because we weren't playing, Glenn Miller.
Yeah.
And then there was a place called Scarlet LaRue's in Campbell, and they had Dixieland music on the weekends. And I would go there to sit in, and I told him about my band, and he had a small stage. He actually built this long very deep stage, so we could come in there on a Thursday night and rehearse.
Oh, nice.
And we did that, but that didn't work so well because you're rehearsing in public, so.
Yeah.
And then we finally was able to rehearse in the house. So that's the long story short. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But
but
the desire was there. In other words, from my youth.
right. Now you mentioned that you really were not even into jazz at all, really.
And
You
no,
were
I was trained classically on piano from the age of 5, and when the Beatles came along, I wasn't interested in.
yeah.
Really wasn't interested in that type of music. And I always thought, well, do we have to like the, the
Just
same
because
thing
it's popular.
because everyone likes it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then, like I said, when I was around 12 or 13, I decided to collect antiques. And one of the antiques I bought was a Victrola, or it was actually a Silvertone phonograph,
Hmm.
coffin top Sears model
Yeah.
for $27. It was all beat up, but it played. And my grandmother would take me to the Goodwill, and I would buy 78s for a nickel and a dime. So I brought home,
A lot.
a lot of 78s. My parents complained that my room stunk because of the paper sleeves.
Right.
But
Right.
that to me, that was
Yes, I know it well. My parents had the exact same complaint about my record collection, so I know exactly what you mean.
We love that smell.
Hmm.
Probably plugged up my nose, but who knows?
Probably, but worth the
Yeah,
trade-off.
but that was it. And I, it was just in me, And then I discovered ragtime when Joshua Rifkin made his record.
Mm.
And I started playing ragtime when I was about 19 on piano. And let's see what else. And then I got accepted to play at Disneyland when I was 21, and the All American College Marching Band, which is still going to this day, although
Yeah.
they're in monetary problems, so they're trying to get rid of
Yeah.
it, but they won't let them. And that was a big exposure to me too, being there and hearing all the vintage music and hearing the
Yeah.
different bands and all that. So I was in heaven.
Yeah.
I would go there and work, and then I would stay all night. I would stay till it closed every night and just hang around on Main Street, basically.
Hmm. There's so many people I've talked to that really, as young people, were at Disneyland and how their musical tastes were so much broadened and refined, and
Mhm.
by just being there, because people like Count Basie coming through,
Oh yeah.
Willie Belson,
Mhm.
um, well, Firehouse Five, because that was essentially a bunch of animators for the most part that
Yeah.
started doing that. And I hope that, I know that uh, like Rusty and everything, there's still some pretty dedicated musicians there. But yes, like you say, they keep sign of the times, I suppose. I just hope that they really keep up that live music, because it can influence the next generations moving on. There just seems to be fewer and fewer places that take the time to do that. What kind
Yeah.
of precipitated you focusing more on reeds, or was it just a necessity because of what you needed in the band?
Um, I don't know why reeds. I wanted to play the saxophone,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother couldn't afford the rent on a saxophone. Pardon me.
Mm-hmm.
And but we could afford the rent on clarinet.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was actually a better thing for me. It's actually better to start on clarinet than
Yeah.
saxophone anyway.
Train your
So
shouts.
we ran into clarinet, and I took clarinet lessons from a violin teacher. He was like the music teacher for Hollister. He
Yeah.
taught everybody
Yeah.
anything. Piano. I took piano from him. I took and clarinet, and but as a result, when I got to San Jose State, I had to relearn how to play the clarinet because I wasn't properly taught.
Oh, yeah.
No no teacher in Hollister who actually
Yeah.
knew, you know, how
Yeah.
to do it right. So that was but that didn't answer your question. I don't know why I went
No.
gravitated to the saxophone, but it's the
Clarinet's
saxophone.
reeds. It explained the question.
Yeah. But I
Well,
also was interested in a lot of instruments. I played the violin and cello and viola in sixth and seventh grade, and then I took up the baritone horn. I was interested in
mhm.
that, so I studied that in high school, and so and then I finally realized, well, you can't play everything, so I just
Yeah.
kind of focused in on reeds, and
Well, I
uh,
imagine that helps you a lot when you're doing arranging, because I know that you've done a great deal of arranging for quite a long time for your band and everything. I would imagine having that kind of flexibility and understanding, at least at a fairly basic level, if not more, of these different instruments would certainly help you quite a bit. I would think, don't you?
oh, absolutely. And I also had a book called Arranging by I can't think of the guy's name, famous arranger from the 20s. That gave me a lot of pointers. Like don't write for trombone, don't write above high F because most players can't play above high F. Type of thing, which was very practical stuff
Right.
to know, you know. And
Yeah.
also how to harmonize the saxophones in the 20s. They harmonized the first alto and the tenor were the
Right.
first harmonies, and then the third alto. That's why it's first alto, second tenor, third alto. So you could play the arrangements with just the tenor and the alto.
Right.
It would sound okay. So that's the
Yeah.
way they thought of everything. You could play those arrangements with multiple different ways of
Yeah.
combinations, smaller combinations.
Is
Yeah.
was your time at San Jose State really what got you interested in arranging, or is that something that kind of,
No, my band got me
yeah,
interested in arranging, yeah. And I didn't do it for a long time. And then I just started doing it, and it's a learning experience like anything. You think,
yeah,
well, you gotta write like Bach. No, you don't. It's different.
you're right,
So,
like you.
but you got to know, you have to know what you're doing.
Hmm.
Sound right.
Yeah.
And I
I
guess
remember one of
just,
the,
it's just in me. I know what it sounds right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I remember not very long and after the whole swing craze started really kind of kicking up, you had
Yeah.
written Jumpstart, and I played the heck out of that on the air over and over. I had people calling to request it after a while.
Wow.
So
Wow. Good.
I remember looking at the liner notes one day at 6 a.m. as I was trying to get up an idea of what I was going to do that morning on the show, going, oh, wait, Don wrote this. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Well, let's put it on again.
Did you play bungee jump as well? I wrote bungee jump.
Yeah, I remember that. I have to say that the first recording I ever heard of, I mean, I had seen you at Sacramento Festival for a long time,
Mhm.
but the first recording I ever remember hearing was the Radio Rhythm album.
Oh, yeah.
And I just out of a silly question, whatever drew you to Thumpin' and Bumpin', because I love that tune.
Oh, well, I just have a large collection, a record collection.
Hmm.
And I guess what it was, when I first started the group, I was not that aware of all the music. And I was mostly, we played early 20s, some teens.
Hmm.
Didn't go much beyond 1927. It was mostly kind of white stuff, like that. And then as I got into it, then the discovery started happening. Well, here's this band and that band and the black
Right.
band and all that. And so we really went, plus I got involved playing with Turk Murphy as a regular substitute. So I'm introduced to that type of music. When I
Hmm.
was in college, I used to go hear the Euphoria Jazz Band.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I went to, when I first went to San Jose State, I went to hear the Preservation Hall Jazz Band at Flint Center.
Oh, neat.
And I hadn't heard anything like that before. And then this woman sitting in front of me, she says, well, if you like that, you got to come hear this band. So I went to hear Euphoria, and I did like Euphoria quite a bit. And they did Jelly Roll Morton, King Oliver
Yeah.
kind of songs, which I was not familiar with.
Right.
And so then my record collection started going in that direction as well. So that's Thumpin' and Bumpin' is just a great number.
Yeah.
And it was an arrangement. I had the stock arrangement.
Oh, did you? That was my next question. Because I remember randomly one day I was watching a Charlie Chaplin silent,
Mm-hmm.
and they were playing that song in the background, and the arrangement was very similar. There were very few differences.
Right.
And of course, everyone's yelling at me, why am I watching this Charlie Chaplin and taking over the television kind of thing? But I just, I'm like, I know this song. But another one on that album, the Radio Rhythm, that I love is Throwing Stones at the Sun.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that your arrangement, or was that another stock one that you
No,
had?
that's a stock arrangement. And also all the ones, most of the, and there's nothing wrong with stock arrangements. All of the bands use them, including Duke Ellington and
Yeah.
Paul Whiteman, and Fletcher Anderson used stock arrangements too, and Louis Armstrong exclusively used them. I think he was the
Yeah.
star. He didn't need to
Right.
have, he was the star. He was the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what was the question? I forgot. Where was I?
Throwing Stones at the Sun. What got you
Throwing
there?
Stones at the Sun. Yeah, it was just another. We listened to all kinds of music, and boy, that one just stood out as a really great song. And
It still sticks out. It
yeah,
just,
it's a great song. Yeah.
yeah. I One of the things that I remember being in Sacramento, and it was one of the rare years where it was raining, and you guys had the gig. It was over by the train station, because
Mhm.
I remember the train decided to let off the whistle right at a wonderful part in one of the songs you guys were playing, and I could just feel the whole band just kind of go. But I remember Steve kind of making a bit of a face, but then right, not too long after that whole train whistle instance, you went into that tune, and my folks were very anxious to leave because for them it was getting late. And I I was I didn't well, I argued a lot with my folks, but as far as being very insistent, I wasn't that very often, but I was very insistent that we stay through that tune. And it's one of those things that I just always remember seeing and hearing because it was raining. It seemed like the set was going downhill just because that train really kind of destroyed the whole buildup of what had been going on so far. And then you came out with that one, and it was like everybody immediately went because the whole audience just kind of shut up and refocused. So I thought that was a very brilliant move on your part, but an absolutely great tune anyway.
Glad you remember that because I don't.
I know you would have no reason to, and I was a little kid, but I was learning at that point in time anyway. And I remember going back to Wild Bill Davison and Tommy Saunders that night,
Uh,
telling him about it, and Wild Bill goes, "What tune is that? I haven't heard that one." And so, no, you have. So Saunders and I are trying to do like singing,
mm,
singing the tune in some kind of weird thing, and everybody. I remember Jake Hanna just rolling his eyes and walking out. What are these two doing? But
I
Bill
thought,
insisted on seeing your band like the next day because he wanted to see what that was all about. I don't know if you ever saw him at any of your sets, but he certainly snuck in at least a couple times.
who are these young whippersnappers?
I know, yeah. What
Uh,
are these tunes they're playing?
yeah, I thought you were going to say there's one time that was similar that where we were playing around that same area and a very loud train horn went off, and I go, Turk, like that, and it really Turk Murphy happened to be playing that year at the festival. And, yeah, big laugh.
Yeah, I did miss a lot about that festival. There's certain things I don't miss, but I do miss a lot. But it was all over town, and that's the part I didn't like was the traveling in between. But as
Yeah.
far as just the sheer number and volume of extremely talented musicians and bands and things like that, I know the outdoor sets weren't all that pleasant. They couldn't have been, especially in the summer when it was hot. But
Oh boy, the first year we played there, I think they say it's global warming, but I don't think so. It was much hotter in the 70s,
yeah,
and it was like 100 degrees, and we were wearing. I was
shoes.
wearing a very heavy tailcoat.
Yeah.
I
Oh
was
boy.
wearing tails. We were wearing tuxedos,
Ugh.
and a lot of us had vintage tuxedos, which are those quarter-inch thick ones,
Uh-huh.
And it was pretty pretty warm. And then after the next year, we came back with a totally different outfit because of the heat.
Yeah,
In fact, we played in Palm Springs one year, and it was 115 degrees
I believe
in
it.
the shade, and
Hmm.
they had us play outside. My reeds completely
Cracked.
warped. I
Yeah.
couldn't. They warped,
Oh yeah.
and I couldn't play, and the string bass came apart. The glue came
I
loose on.
believe it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
and
happened
so
up in
I,
Reading once too. Not to
so
you, but
then I started our we for a while we wore what I called a safari outfit. So we had khaki
yeah, I remember
shirts
those.
and
Yeah,
so that's because of the heat. It's just
yeah. And then you'd go into that theater and freeze because the AC would be blasting.
oh, yeah, right.
What theater? A Crest Theater. That was a beautiful venue.
Yeah.
It's such a
I really
perfect
miss
setting for
the
you guys.
I really missed Sacramento Jubilee. It was really special, and it was
Yeah.
helped put us on the map. I think what really also put us on the map was we got to play. Turk Murphy allowed us to play at his club.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. And then we got a lot of help from Peter Minton
Yeah.
and David Fowler, who were already in San Francisco, and they,
Hmm.
yeah,
I remember Pat Yankee sure liked you guys an awful lot too.
yeah, she was great.
Yeah, she was a
I didn't get to know her till later in life because I was scared of her. I thought
really?
she was kind of frightening. Then later in life, I got to know her and find out what a funny person she is.
Oh,
Very,
she was. And such
very,
a loving person too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Every so
But
often she just call up and she goes, I know you're busy. I just wanted to tell you I love you. And I just, oh, she was just such a sweet lady. And
yeah,
worked with Turk an awful lot too. I'm kind of surprised because I thought she would have glommed onto you in a hurry to try to be very protective and encouraging to you.
well, like I said, I didn't really talk to her because I
Yeah.
was I don't know. So,
Yeah. So in San Jose State really was kind of the origins for the band itself. Where did it really where did you really start picking up some momentum with it?
We had help. Our first concert was at Gavilan College, where I went to junior college, and
Mhm.
the music head of the music department there we were very friendly, and he had us play there. And then because of that, we got to play at Flint Center, and that was a really big,
Yeah,
venue. And
right.
we played a warm-up act for, I think it was Don Menza. I think he was a trumpet player,
Hmm.
and we did our thing. We were the warm-up act for a modern jazz musician,
Oh,
and we got a standing ovation. We got huge, And I
good.
go backstage, and this guy is pacing back and forth, fuming. And what the hell is this crap? I won't
Oh
use what
my
he really
gosh.
said,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
but you know, and he was absolutely livid that we were the warm-up act.
Well, you were
And
just doing your
huh?
job.
Right? And then we got a job at Bullock's department store. We were discovered by Ellen Farmer, who was an agent.
Uh-huh.
And so she glommed onto us and started booking us. And she introduced me to Carla, actually, because she was representing her as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it came together, and it took a long, it wasn't overnight by any means. And we
No,
struggled.
never is.
It took about at least 3 years, I'd say, to get to a place where we could, really start being noticed,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, playing at the Earthquake Magoons, we'd play Sundays first there, and then we started playing Friday night before Turk went on.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, and then when we had our own radio show, thanks to David Fowler, so I could walk down Market Street and hear our music coming out of almost every door. It was that
Oh,
popular.
neat. Yeah.
So it was unreal.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. It's a
Feeling.
whirlwind
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it kind of makes you feel good about the choices you've made and where you're going and what you're doing. What would you say is some of your favorite? And I know this sounds like it's a loaded question, but it isn't intended to be. But all of us have certain aspects of what we do that we enjoy the most, that we feel the most connected to, even though we might like a lot of different things about what we do. But for you, what's your favorite sort of either band setup or what you play or style you play or people you play with? What's like I asked Hal Smith and he mentioned one setup that he really likes the most. I asked Dan Barrett and he said he really loves like a big band, not acoustic, or I'm sorry, an acoustic, not mic'd up band. Um, what sorts of things kind of give you the greatest sense of just joy when you're playing that, or it could be a setup or like I say, or style of music or whatever.
Well, the style wise, I play a lot of swing, but it's not my favorite. I
Mhm.
mean, I think I do it well, but
Yeah.
I'm more of, I'm going back into my youth now and playing more like two beat.
Yeah.
I just played with Bob Schultz in Fresno with his Frisco Jazz Band, which is a traditional jazz band, and
Right.
I love playing that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And like I say, yesterday I played with a trio where we played a lot of swing, so I can do that. But I think I
Yeah.
kind of prefer the earlier stuff, and also I think it's all about the situation and the acoustics. So if I can hear myself really well, or the band can hear itself really well, the good acoustics and a good audience and a full dance floor, what could
Hmm.
you ask for anything more? That's, to me,
Yeah.
is the epitome of and people who appreciate you, which we have a lot
Yeah.
of people who do.
Yeah.
And so I think something like the Gadsby Picnic is like
Yeah.
my favorite gig of the year.
Yeah.
It's just such a rarefied experience to have all those old
It
cars,
is.
people dressed, and you've been to it, so you
Yeah.
know what.
Finally, after 20 something years, I did finally go
Where
last
have you
year.
been?
No idea now, but now my best friend since 7th grade and I are going to be continuing to go because we randomly stumbled on some brand new friends. So it worked out really well. But
Yes.
yeah, that is and what I'll do is on the description of this interview, I'll make sure to put a link to not only your website, but also the Gatsby event, because it is a really, really unique and special event. And you're right, it is kind of nice just with the setting and the way the Art Deco Society has set it up. Your music and your band and you guys just fit in so perfectly. Speaking of your website, though, you do have a Patreon service available to people that would like to join. Is that correct?
Yes, we do, and we appreciate. Things have been not so easy,
Yeah, especially since
but
COVID.
you know, if,
Yeah.
if you want to give, we appreciate. We will accept. And
There's
also,
lots of,
Carla has her own for her own cause, you might say.
yeah, so it's obviously public, so I'm not breaking any confidences or anything, but yeah, last year was it last year that was the official diagnosis, or just when she officially
Yeah,
mentioned it?
official diagnosis with
Okay.
Parkinson, and it's
Yeah,
she's putting up the fine fight. She really is a
she is.
fighter.
She is.
Yeah. So
She's always been very supportive of me through a lot of health issues over the years. So,
yeah, right.
it's time to show her that same love and support in return for sure. Um, Now there's also YouTube channel videos for some of your songs that I'll mention on there too, for direct links to your things. But another thing that has come up recently in a much also kind of a sad vein is Dix's passing. Do you want to just kind of share a couple of your favorite memories of him or something like that?
Um, yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah.
He joined us 35 years ago, and he's just fun to be with. And he was so kind and generous, and he helped us. He recorded a lot of our recordings. He did, and he
Mhm.
mixed them.
Yeah.
And he's also he was a big star in the bluegrass world, and he had a self-deprecating sense of humor,
Yeah.
and he would put down the fact that he was a bluegrass musician, and things like that. And
Yeah.
he wrote clever lyrics. He wrote a lot of songs. He wrote books for instruction on how to play bluegrass, mostly, I think, and guitar and all of that. And just it's just such a shock for someone that young just to be gone.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's really
Yeah.
hard to describe, I have to say. And I can still hear his voice. He had a
Yeah.
very, very, just such a loss. I guess
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
No, I know. It's pretty and I think it was the same day that that Butch Miles had passed. So that was really kind of a much 1-2 punch kind of a
Yeah,
thing, which and just
well, one never knows, do
one
one?
never knows.
That's why I wrote the song "Carpe Diem."
Oh
Seize
yeah.
the, seize the day. That's one of the
Uh-huh.
videos that we did actually during COVID. We did two songs on YouTube. One's called "It Is What It Is,"
Yeah.
a song I wrote, and then "Carpe Diem," seize the day. So
Yeah.
I call that my Latin tune.
Wow. Well,
My
both are
Latin.
excellent. Make sure to put links in there for that. No, we'll be coming up to Monterey again. Thank goodness for
Yeah, that's coming up,
weeks.
and
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to that.
Besides that and Gatsby, what other sorts of things? But besides just asking people to join the mailing list or Patreon to be able to keep up with your schedule, anything else big coming up that you'd like to share?
No, I'm afraid that's all we played Rossmore earlier this year, and then these
Hmm.
two big gigs, but right now that's all we have on the books. I mean, it's not easy
Yeah.
booking a big band. I work a lot as actually at my age, it's fine with me. I work a lot as a
Yeah.
side man, which I'm the happy side. I'm the happy side man. So
Dave Frischberg
you
wrote
know
a
how to
tune on
make
that.
a you know how to make a musician complain. You give them a gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So,
Or don't. Either way.
or don't.
I appreciate your time very much today, Don, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.